Hello and welcome to this podcast. Thank you so much for taking your time to speak on this issue. The topic I have in mind is death, and
Okay.
I don't have too much of context for it. Just a simple when you hear the word death or uh, when you hear about somebody's death, what does
Hmm.
the word death mean to you?
I think it's a shocking reaction that I generally get,
Hmm.
especially in this current scenario that I have realized the unexpected people leaving the world. And I feel, uh, what I've seen in these people, the ones that I actually knew in person, uh, these were the guys who had such big dreams. And suddenly one day you come to know he's no more, and you feel shocked. What kind of life are we living? Today I'm here, but the fact is, I don't know whether I'm going to be here tomorrow. And then, what are we working for? What are the things that I've said? The good things, the bad things. So
Hmm.
it's quite shocking. That's how I take it right now.
So do you feel cheated or do you feel the fragility a lot more?
Do I feel cheated on?
Do you feel the fragility of our existence a lot more, or both, or none?
I don't think I feel cheated about it because I think since my childhood, I was exposed to deaths. So nowhere at any point of time I was kept away. I have seen people staying away from deaths and feeling scared of being part of the final journey. But I was always exposed to it, so I've always visited with the dead bodies to the crematorium and done the final thing. So I was never scared of if it. So from my childhood, since my childhood, I was very much aware that everyone has to die. So never scared of it. Uh, but sorry, what was the second part? I couldn't
Fragility,
understand that.
fragility.
Fragility.
Suddenly, because of the suddenness of death that we are
Huh.
being exposed to right now, do you feel more fragile?
Yeah, yes, fragile. I think I would also put it as unsure of what's going to happen next. I managed to survive first COVID wave. I was in hospital for 7 days. Uh,
Okay.
was not in the best of my mental state when I actually entered the hospital. I think I was to an extent even open that if I don't return back, that was my mental state. But because of the business issues that I had, I think I was fine not coming back. But in those 7 days, that transition that happened, that I realized it's not just my own life. There are so many others who are around you who want you to live this life, and that is more important that whether I decide whether or I want to live my life or I don't want to live my life. I think that comes secondary. More important is the people who love you. Maybe in your day-to-day life, you are not even aware of the love that is around you. You just miss out. So when you speak about fragility, yes, I'm scared of the fragility around because I don't know whether I'm going to live tomorrow or not. With the current news that comes in, yesterday I was discussing that I knew in my network that the age of 35, 36 who have lost their lives and who were quite healthy. And yesterday I came to know that there was also a 20, 22-year guy who lost his life. So obviously it's fragile. And uh, so answering your question about fertility, of course it's very high on the meter right now.
You said, on one hand, you said that you were exposed to death or dead bodies or
Hmm.
the goings on in the crematorium
Hmm.
quite reasonably well compared to being a kid. Uh,
Hmm.
but on the other hand, you are saying that when you went into the hospital,
Hmm.
you had dark thoughts about existence, your own existence. Uh, I'm presuming they were dark thoughts. You did not actually mention it like that, but you said you were not
Hmm.
in a good state and you were willing to let go. So I am
True.
presuming because you were willing to let go because of whatever issues you mentioned. But
Hmm.
the point being that life did not seem worthy of a fight at that point for you. So, how or what changed when you mentioned this transition? What exactly was the transition? Was it a single point? Was it a series of events? Was it a series of thoughts? Uh, I want to know the exact thought where it started more than so you're
True.
going into vulnerability now, and suddenly something, the penny drop happens, and you say, no.
Absolutely.
So,
Hmm.
what was that thought, or what was the series of thoughts?
All right. So, I mean, currently we are speaking about pandemic, but if I go say around 15, 20 years back, uh, there was an episode that had happened in my life where I had consumed something. It was more of a love affair, and
Hmm.
things didn't happen, and I had consumed something, so I was hospitalized. I was in ICU. That was a time I clearly remember. Uh, okay, the medical reports say that I was breathless for like 10 odd seconds. But when I gained consciousness, the first thing that I saw was my aunt who was standing next to me. I mean, just to give you a background, I don't have my mom. I lost my mom when I was 8 months old, so I was brought up by my aunt. So aunts play a very important role. They are motherly figures for me. So
Okay.
when I opened my eyes in the ICU, the first thing I saw was my aunt, and I was in ICU. I was not feeling the pain, although I might have been connected with various instruments in the ICU. But only thing I could see, I was not feeling the pain because medication was taking care of my health or my pain. But only thing I could see are the tears in my aunt's eyes, and those were the tears that actually told me, "Ki, Rahul, it's not just you and your life that is important. I think it's more important are the people around you who have created you or who have taken care of you for so many years. I think it is you who is responsible to give certain things back. It might not be materialistic, but I think you are connected to their life. It's not just you as an individual, but you are connected to so many lives around you who have grown together. So that was one of the memories that I still have, and then they're always green in my heart. So even in this even during this bad times when I got hospitalized, I think the business was down. There was no revenue getting generated. I'm sure everyone is going through the bad phase. But when I got when I entered into the hospital, like I mentioned, I was fine. I mean, ठीक है, मैंने शायद इतना कुछ अचीव नहीं किया, जितना भी अचीव कर लिया ठीक है. But then obviously I won't say that is something that I want to be. I want to be something bigger than what I am today. But the mindset or the phase or the dark phase that I was in that particular day or two when I entered the hospital, I was fine. I didn't even look back at my wife when she admitted me because I was fine. I was done with it. I just wanted to go. But when I got admitted for a day or two, I saw the people who were there on my next bed.
Hmm. Hmm.
I realized the pain, the families that they had, and when you discuss with your friends or I mean they were not even friends, they were just patients lying on the next beds. Uh, but when you understand their stories, you realize your pain is much lesser than what their pain was. I mean, someone had heart problem which was from birth, and that was actually increasing their problem during Corona time. So there's so much more pain. I mean, I can't even discuss all the stories that I heard over there. But there was so much pain more, and that's when you realize, Rahul, and that's where your memories come back. You know, those when I was in the ICU last time, and when I had seen the tears in my aunt's eyes, I think everything comes back, and then it's a cycle. You realize, Rahul, have you forgotten that you are not alone, and there are so many veins that are connected to so many other people. You cut, you're fine cutting your own vein, but those veins are not just yours, but also they are connected to so many people around you. And that is where you feel, okay, there is so much more to a life and so much more that I still need to give to this beautiful world. In a day-to-day journey, we don't realize that.
So would you say that the realization is that living itself could be a gift of service to others?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, when I see so many people around me, I just to give you an example, I used to work in WeWork. Everyone had their own businesses and everyone was doing well. Once it shut down, there was a group who started Khana Chahiye, and they were actually serving people on road with whatever they could, with food, medicines, whatever. I think the the satisfaction that you can get by giving something to someone, to the needy, I think that is the satisfaction, or that is a life I would live to here on. I think everyone makes money, everyone has their own needs. किसी को ज़्यादा मिलता है, कोई लंबा नहीं बनता है, कोई नहीं बनता है. But then I think when you look at people like Ratan Tata, who's doing so much, he has earned so much, but he stands up whenever it is required, and I think he stands up in the most beautiful way. I wish if it's not to that level, but to whatever level I can, if I could do it, I think on the deathbed, whenever I am, I think I should have those kind of memories with me when I'm going out of this world. I think that's what I would live to.
Just to play the devil's advocate here, in terms of how do you, you said that you had issues sustaining yourself, and that was one of the reasons why you were feeling down in terms of business. How do you justify working for other people when your own needs have not been met fully yet?
I think it's not just the monetary help that people require. I think it's also, there's so many more things that you can do which you don't need to have a financial background. I think it's just one call to a person who you feel is down. If you speak to that person for 5 minutes, you don't need to be some gyani person who can share some gyan, but I think even speaking to someone helps. I can give you my own example. I have two aunts. One had a cancer, whom we lost like in the month of February. I mean, those two aunts used to stay together, both unmarried. Unfortunately, one of them had a cancer. She was brilliant. I mean, she was the one who was supposed to take admission in medical, but unfortunately for 1 or 2 marks, she did not manage to get that admission in medical. But that's a young age. Both of them were married, unmarried. Both were living together. They were living for each other. I mean, each of them did not get married because one did not get married to support the other, and whatever. But then one was detected with cancer. Within 2.5 years, we lost her. But as on today, she's not. I mean, the one who's surviving, she's not she has lost her sister, and she's not able to sleep even now. Like till 3 o'clock in the morning, she won't get sleep. Maybe she still remembers her because both of them are living together. But as on today, she's not having any expectation that someone will support her financially. She's fine. She has a decent amount which keeps on in her bank account, as well as some basic amount that she requires on monthly basis. So monetarily, she's not having any expectations. What she requires right now in this pandemic is because no one is able to visit her. No one, she is not able to move out as freely as we used to do together. Earlier, we used to go for trips wherever. I mean, visiting some grandparty. But as on today, her basic requirement is someone calling her up. Even if I do that on weekly basis, we have our own limitations of घर पे काम है ये हुआ है. But then for her, when she doesn't have any work, I think her only expectation is someone calling her. It's not about money. It's not about anything else. She doesn't have any great expectations that और कुछ मैं दूंगा उनको या और कोई देगा. It's just family members just calling each other up, and I think that's the only expectation that she has today. And she won't even spell it out. She understands that everyone is busy or everyone has their own issues, so she won't even call you up. But then I think there are certain things that are not spoken about, but they are expected from people who are connected to each other. And I think this is one way of mine which is connected to her, which even I understand that, Rahul, it's your responsibility to call her up. And I'm sure everyone realizes that. It's just that in everyone's day-to-day life, we tend to forget things. I think it's very important to be aware of your connections, about your close ones, and try and call them up and just speak for 5 minutes. I think that is good enough for everyone.
So this is well said. To be there for a person, not necessarily physically or economically, but just the idea of warmth, of personal rapport, that we are there in case you need anything.
Yeah, I might. Yeah, sorry.
No, please go on. I don't have a problem.
Yeah, I might not have the best of the words to communicate myself, but I hope I'm able to communicate and make a point out of it.
Yeah. You are. It's quite an important point that you're making. Another question that is running in my head. This is good when it comes to people you already do know about or you are connected to in some manner.
Right.
I unfortunately know of people who are like, there are 2 people in the family, 3 people in the family, and then there is only one left, and they do not have like great connections to the extended families. So mama ki masi ka somebody, and people like those who are like very far off, and some of them are our own relatives, and I think I must have heard of them only after years, just because somebody in their family passed away.
Right.
It is sad to say this, but if I were to bump into them, maybe I wouldn't even recognize them. It's that bad at times, because so many 30, 40 years have passed and you have not been in touch at all. Not that you do not know about each other. Besides which, also there are people who we may have no clue of, and they are not necessarily our friends or relations. I am presently helping a couple of friends who were cooking for COVID patients, and they just put out a flyer out there, and random people saw the flyer. They suggested to random other people who were out of jobs or who have a separate set of problems, not necessarily life and death. Like one of the people we are helping is a guy who doesn't have a job right now. In fact, his first line was, "Look, I don't have COVID. Will you still give me food?" It's quite difficult. He works with the hotel industry. And now my question to you is, in such a scenario, we were lucky. Somebody gave us the number, and somebody gave him the number. He contacted us. Was brave enough to admit his position and not lie about being COVID positive, because we weren't sitting and checking certificates or anything. You're just trying to help, do your little bit. Now my question to you is, in a scenario where as a person you've come out I would use the word you claim to have come out of the hospital with a new understanding.
Hmm.
And obviously, since you're talking about issues related to your own relatives, you've been
Hmm.
making changes. Is
Hmm.
there anything that has changed in you as far as giving back to society is concerned? Is there any thought process change, physical, mental,
See,
habitual change?
I personally feel somewhere within it's there with everyone because everyone understands if you give something unconditionally, you get immense satisfaction. I can vouch on my own in my own case. I think it was there since my childhood. I felt the maximum satisfaction I used to get is like giving. I mean, even if I'm giving an old lady, uh, I used to see my, I used to compare it to my, maybe if she's old, I used to compare it to my grandmother. That, okay, at least my grandmother mother had a house to stay in. This woman doesn't have a house to stay. She's on the road. I mean, I don't know how she used to live her life. So these are those minor things that I used to notice, and maybe that was something that I used to I mean, that was the reason maybe I used to offer because I had that connections happening in my mind instantly. But it's there. I think somewhere in our day-to-day life, we forget that. I think when we have an office, I think we are traveling in our office in whatever transport, coming back. Somewhere we miss out so many things that are happening around you, and that is where uh, you might not uh, offer things the way you used to offer. But I think suddenly during the lockdown, when you aren't doing your day-to-day office running around, suddenly those things within have surfaced, and that is where I feel, it's about your basics have surfaced. That for me, the basics have surfaced. Where do I get maximum satisfaction? Is it going to a movie? Is it? I think it's a wrong comparison about a movie and offering something to the needy. But
Yeah,
I
I
think
get you.
it's, yeah, it's in this lockdown it has surfaced, and that's helping me to bring back your original. I think pure is very sweet word to use for myself, but I think some everyone is pure somewhere within, and I
Mm.
think this lockdown has helped that purity to surface, and you see so many people. I'm sure everyone who's listening to this has some story or the or other around them that they have gone out of the way to help people during this lockdown. It's a beautiful thing that has happened. I think if I see this positive, if the world uh, works like this, I think it's a beautiful world right now.
Yeah, I I completely agree. So this realignment of your priorities, your
Correct.
perspective, your
Hmm.
ability to start thinking. I like the
Right.
fact that you have gone back to the mind instead of just talking about actions itself,
Right.
because actions itself are also not always necessarily about the mindset. So I may be being pestered by some vagrant on the road and I may just give money or buy
Hmm.
something, but it may be to
Right.
get rid of them. It's not necessary that I feel kindly towards them at that point. It's like,
Right.
stop irritating me and just go, take this money,
Hmm.
go. So it's not
Yeah.
necessarily the right mindset.
Right.
Whereas what
Right.
you spoke of, I like the fact that you've allowed this period of quote unquote soul searching
Hmm.
um, to arrive at a point where you feel you have rediscovered the purer parts of you, the more good intentional younger version of you, and coming back to doing things about.
Absolutely.
I now I want to again go back to my question itself, but with a different perspective.
Okay.
Um, with this new whatever old new mindset, if I were to call it, because
Okay.
it was always there inside you, but it has been rediscovered. So, is there
Right.
anything concrete that you hope to do or you wish to do? You did mention in a very open-ended manner um, about your uh, about your ideal being somebody like Ratan Tata, who's been doing good work, is known to do good work, and obviously he is a role model for a lot many people in India and abroad, I'm sure. But in your own personal this, are there any steps that you intend to take or you've taken, if you
Yes.
want to share at this point of time?
I,
Because it will just
I
help us understand how to go from thought to action on this.
I think there are two things very clear in my mind, and I'm working towards it. Since
Hmm.
my childhood, I always had that affection for the army that works. So somewhere, I really wanted to help the families of the army because not necessarily they that come from a very great background.
Okay.
Uh, so something definitely for the army. I mean that is one way to express your patriotism. I would say I could not be part. Unfortunately, our country does not have uh, educational system where a person is part of the army or the military for 1 or 2 years. I feel that should be at least everyone to get disciplined. I think that's a beautiful way to start. I mean, that is my opinion at the end of the day. So
Yeah,
somewhere, yeah, sorry.
yeah, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, so somewhere I always had that affection towards the army. If I could not be part of the army, maybe at least I could be some support system to them. So that was since my childhood, and I think every kid develops something on its own for whatever reasons that he has. But as I grew up, and as I had as my aunt uh, had cancer and whatever she went through, there are many things that I realized.
Hmm.
Cancer is one, it's not about money. I think I have seen it with my own eyes that the family falls apart. It's cancer it's not just a medical problem.
Hmm.
I think I don't know what term to use, but the minute someone has a cancer in the family, that entire family I have seen fallen apart. It's not just, I have been part of that family, unfortunately.
Hmm.
So till the time everything is rosy, everyone is there, but the minute things start going wrong, you can see people running away from the
Problem.
basic responsibilities that bonds fall apart. Be it brothers, be it sisters, be it nephews, nieces. I mean, it's a beautiful world when everything is going fine, but the minute something happens like cancer, I think everything falls apart. And I'm sure this is the scenario in most of the families where cancer gets detected. So it's not just a medical issue. I think it's more than that. And I think because I lost my aunt for that, I think somewhere for cancer, because we had been running around, my wife had been running around for generating funds for my aunt, and I'm sure, uh, I mean, at least we are young enough to run around. What happens to the people who are not even aware as to there are possibilities to generate funds? How are they managing it? I mean,
Okay.
how many lives are we losing out there? So I think something to, with the cancer, I think I would love to do something for cancer too.
Lovely. I think this is a lovely point to end this episode on, in the sense of we started with uh, the basic thoughts on death, your point of view, and then your own
Hmm.
experience in the recent
Hmm.
times, in your earlier times.
Hmm.
Thank you for being so honest and going through times that might have been difficult. And I think this episode is definitely going to inspire and help people uh, understand this topic better. So thank you so
Thanks.
much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my inner soul. I hope it helps and
Yeah.
people are happy, or at least make some impact or some change in the better
Yeah.
world, to better the world.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.